China has firmly called for an immediate ceasefire but faced a veto when proposing a UN resolution. The US seems to support Israel's dominance in Gaza, even sending ammunition. In response to Israel's devastation, China is now urging an immediate ceasefire and has the capability to enforce it through economic sanctions. Stay with us until the end to learn about China's efforts to halt Israel's war on Gaza. In a significant development, China's ambassador to the United Nations openly declared enough is enough. This marked a critical moment during a Security Council visit to the heavily impacted Gaza Strip. This statement came after the US vetoed a proposed Security Council resolution demanding an immediate ceasefire amid ongoing Israeli military actions in Gaza. These actions have resulted in widespread displacement and a staggering loss of life. Reports indicate that the conflict has led to over 18,000 fatalities. This dire situation prompted a dozen envoys from the UN Security Council, organized by the United Arab Emirates, to visit Rafah in the Gaza Strip. They undertook this visit only days after UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres highlighted the dire situation, with thousands in Gaza facing extreme hardship and starvation. This visit underscores the support from a majority of UN member states for an immediate and lasting ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, the militant group in control of Gaza. The urgency of this situation is further magnified by the deteriorating conditions of Gaza's 2.3 million residents. After a briefing in Alish by the UN Palestinian Refugee Agency, or UNRWA, about the situation in Gaza, the envoys proceeded to Rafah, located 30 meters away. China's UN representative, Zhang Jun, when asked about countries opposing a ceasefire in Gaza, succinctly stated, "Enough is enough." This reflects growing impatience with the ongoing conflict. This sentiment was echoed by Ecuador's UN representative, Jose de Gaza, who, after the UNRWA briefing, remarked on the harsh reality on the ground, emphasizing the need for actionable steps to address the situation. The Israeli military response has been intense, with air and ground offensives in retaliation for the October 7 attack by Hamas. Israel claims this attack resulted in significant casualties and hostage-taking. Gaza's health authorities report approximately 18,000 deaths and over 49,500 injuries due to Israeli attacks, painting a picture of widespread devastation and human suffering. The plight of Gaza's residents is heart-wrenching, with most of the 2.3 million population displaced from their homes. UNRWA Chief Felipe Lazzarini described the situation as an implosion of civil order, with desperate individuals, some of whom haven't eaten for days, looting aid centers and intercepting aid trucks to secure supplies for their families. The scarcity of assistance has led to rampant hunger, with many residents left with no option but to sleep on concrete. Despite the limited humanitarian aid and fuel deliveries that have crossed into Gaza via the Rafah crossing, it falls drastically short of meeting the basic needs of the population. The Security Council is currently negotiating a UAE-drafted resolution that seeks to facilitate aid access and establish a UN-run aid monitoring mechanism in Gaza. Secretary-General Guterres has warned the Security Council about the global threat to peace and security posed by the conflict and criticized its failure to facilitate a humanitarian ceasefire. The upcoming UN General Assembly meeting, called upon by Arab and Muslim states, is set to discuss a possible vote on a resolution demanding an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs reported that, while 100 trucks carrying humanitarian supplies entered Gaza from Egypt, this number is significantly lower than the pre-conflict daily average. Notably, certain items, including solar panels and an ultrasound machine, have been banned from entry into Gaza by Israel, citing reasons related to their electrical nature and metal content. The ongoing Gaza situation is a pressing international concern, with diplomatic efforts underway to resolve it. The humanitarian crisis is worsened by the conflict and blockade, causing severe shortages of essential supplies like food and medical equipment. Israel's blockade severely restricts movement, compounding residents' suffering. International responses vary, with some advocating for an immediate ceasefire and blockade lift, while others express caution, citing security concerns. The United States, traditionally close to Israel, has faced criticism for vetoing a Security Council ceasefire resolution. Some view this as implicit support for Israel's actions, raising questions about politics in humanitarian crisis. The toll on Gaza's civilian population is profound. High casualties, including women and children, raise concerns about the proportionality of Israeli military actions. International humanitarian law requires distinguishing combatants from civilians and minimizing harm. Reports indicate extensive destruction and loss of life, posing questions about legal compliance. The situation in Gaza underscores broader Israeli-Palestinian conflict issues. The blockade, enforced since 2007, hampers peace and worsens the humanitarian crisis. It restricts goods and people, severely affecting Gaza's economy and residents' quality of life. The international community, including the United Nations, repeatedly calls for lifting the blockade, deeming it collective punishment prohibited under international law. The role of Hamas in Gaza adds another layer of complexity to the situation. As a de facto governing authority in the region, Hamas is responsible for the welfare of Gaza's residents. However, its designation as a terrorist organization by several countries, including the United States and the European Union, complicates efforts to provide aid and negotiate a ceasefire. The presence of armed groups in densely populated civilian areas also raises concerns about the use of human shields and the difficulty of distinguishing between military and civilian targets in such environments. The international response to the crisis in Gaza is further complicated by the political dynamics in the Middle East. The region's history is marked by long-standing conflicts and rivalries, which often influence the positions of different countries on issues such as the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Additionally, the involvement of external powers, including the United States, Russia, and China, adds another dimension to the diplomatic efforts to resolve the crisis. These powers often have their own strategic interests in the region, which can impact their approach to the conflict and their willingness to support certain resolutions or actions. The situation in Gaza underscores the need for a comprehensive approach to conflict resolution that addresses the underlying causes of the conflict. This includes not only immediate measures to alleviate the humanitarian crisis, but also long-term strategies to resolve the political issues at the heart of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The international community, including the United Nations, has a crucial role to play in facilitating dialogue and negotiations between the parties, as well as in providing humanitarian assistance and supporting reconstruction efforts. The crisis in Gaza is a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict and the importance of international cooperation in addressing humanitarian emergencies. The international community must work together to find a sustainable solution to the conflict, one that respects the rights and aspirations of all parties involved and ensures the dignity and safety of the civilian population. What do you believe should be the international community's top priority in addressing the ongoing crisis in Gaza? An immediate ceasefire, the lifting of the blockade, or a comprehensive long-term solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? Feel free to share your insights in the comments below. Join the Rebel Discovery community by subscribing and stay updated on this critical shift in global economics. As we explore these significant developments, your perspective is invaluable. Keep engaged with us.